Hello there, and first off, happy Halloween. If you wondered why I am dressed like this, I posted a short out yesterday, and I'm sure there'll probably be some photos today out on my community tab of me and my fiance who are dressing up this year as Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy. And I built both of those alongside Man Ray in the short yesterday in Lego form. But as Halloween is falling on a Thursday this year, it means it falls on Lego City Update Day. And last week, there were a few comments praising some of the things that I added into the city, but I asked you for what you wanted to see and you didn't disappoint. A few of you really liked the mashed up clown, so we'll be taking a look at the city in a second. But first off, Dirk Willem de Vries asked to have not only a scarecrow added to the city, which I do have some plans, but also to see a massive spider for the Spider Queen to ride. And I did have a time lapse planned, but that was everything my printer captured because the first one didn't go as well. I did end up modifying the build just a little bit on top of the modifications I already made to the existing Lego piece. But it turns out when you hit reprint, it doesn't restart the time lapse. So at least I know that for future reference. Maybe next time you'll get a time lapse. But let's go straight to taking a look at this massive spider. And if you perhaps haven't seen one of the new Lego spiders, this is the newer style of Lego spider. You can see the legs are a bit curved and it looks better than the piece we were getting 10, 20, probably even 30, 40 years ago. So this is the model that I'm using as inspiration for the giant spider. And the comment asked to make it 5 or 10 times bigger. When people speak about enlarged Lego builds specifically, they tend to only be speaking about one direction because 5 times bigger than this piece, 5 of these spiders aren't actually that big. So I've made it 5 times bigger in the width, 5 times bigger in the length, and 5 times bigger in the height. And that has given us this giant Lego spider. You might be able to see it is modified a little bit on the back because it's been printed in black. It is a bit hard to show off all the details on camera, but it is a Lego spider. We've got the stud on the bottom. Perhaps I shouldn't be holding it by one of its legs. They are seemingly fragile. They're not as fragile as you would think, but they're definitely as fragile as the Lego versions. But you can see this is technically 125 times bigger than this spider. It's something I have to point out, being a math magician and all, but it is massive nonetheless. And the reason I have left this gap on the back of the spider is so that if we bring our Spider Queen from the Build a Minifigure station 2 years ago, I believe, we can squeeze the minifigure on the back of the spider. I was originally going to add some studs, but I didn't really know how big I wanted to build it. And maybe if I want to print this even bigger, I can add a little 4x4 display on it. But the Spider Queen can ride on the spider, and now she has a massive spider mount that she can use to control her little spider minions. For the scarecrow, I have gone with this witch or wizard that has been strung up, potentially might even be burnt, just for being a witch or wizard, which lines up to, you might remember last week we had two by the drink stand that were cracking open an unlicensed red fizzy drink. So perhaps they can be watching their friend just hanging around as a scarecrow. But as you all really liked the clown, I went with another mix match of random elements here. We have the hat from last year's VIP bag that was given out around this time by Lego with purchases, I think, of about 40, 50 quid. We then have the torso and legs you might recognize from Ninjago. I'm not sure which wave this is, but I'm sure someone can point it out in the comments. And then we have some orange arms and yellow hands that I just have spare laying around in my collection. And of course, we can't forget the Star Wars element, the Jawa face as the head, which looks like some cloaked head with some piercingly yellow bright eyes. But as for the actual stand that the scarecrow is standing on, we have, it's quite easy actually. It's just two of these round under tiles with a 2x2 tile bridging the gap between them. I'll try and make some instructions and put them up on screen for you now to follow along with. Then we have a 1x4 going along the top. We have two of these underside slopes with a round 1x1 with a little pin pointing out for the hands to grab onto. They're not attached to the minifigure's torso. This isn't a unique element or anything I 3D printed. These are proper Lego minifigure arms that have just been placed out of system. And then on the bottom, we have a 1x2 bracket with 2 more of those round elements so that we can stand them in the Lego city. And whilst these 2 updates, well, technically there is also the campfire that I was going to make next week, but we'll get onto that in just a second. Might not seem like a lot. I think it does bring everything together. We still have the creepy clown in this alleyway over here, made with a bunch of unique different elements, and it surprised me just to see how many of you. There are only a few comments, but the fact that anyone also has these minifigures that will give it a bit of spotlight in this video are just these random elements. We've got Luke's legs, we've got the torso that was a placeholder for the build a minifigure alien. Then we have the clown face and hair that I got off the band wall and don't really have torso and legs for. And then we have the whip as well, which was another bonus element because it looked cool. It really did surprise me how many people do have these odd shaped minifigures, which is why I went with the same technique for the Scarecrow. And as you can see, the Scarecrow and the 2 witches from last week are gathered around the campfire that I didn't end up putting into last week, and I think it's perfect for tying these 3 figures all together. Of course, realistically, one of them might be getting a bit too warm and a bit too close to the fire, but it's nice that they can all hang out one last time. And then we have the Spider Queen ready to take over Taylor Town, which is, by the way, the name of my Lego city, named after my fiance, who's helped out a ton on the channel. But back to the Spider Queen, as you can see, we've got all of the minions dotted around by the crossing, these Dreamlings ready to take on the Spider Army and protect Taylor Town, or the Lego city, one of which armed with an axe, wearing an Imperial gunner helmet up the front. Then we have a more military style helmet with a frying pan bashing one of the spiders. And then we have the sorting hat, or some magical wizard hat with a wand. Perhaps that one's training to become a wizard or a witch. But I really like how the city has turned out for this Halloween. Hopefully soon we can build up the sides and get it to close in and make it more of its own pocket dimension. And definitely for next year, there'll be, well, we'll start earlier for a start, and then there'll be a bigger update. Perhaps we'll even have a bigger city so we can make an even bigger spider mount, perhaps even get a few minifigures on the back. But let me know what you thought of this episode by dropping a like or a dislike if you didn't like the update, and let me know your favorite story in the comments below. If you haven't checked out last week's video, I'll leave it on screen for you now, as well as another one that YouTube thinks you'll like. Thank you for making it to the end of the video, and as always, may the bricks be with you.